Hello, everybody. It's Friday, and that means it's time for another topic of the week. So, normal preamble right at the top. Last week's topic on secondary markets and out of print armies. A lot of great responses. If you didn't check those out, the last week's video, of course, as always, will be linked down below. Go look at those because there were many great responses. My personal favorite of the week came from Crit Damage Miniatures, a new channel out of Australia. They've been doing a lot of great reports, more or less across a ton of different games. Check them out. Give them a sub if you haven't already. But their response to this was pretty fantastic because they also went through a bunch of out of print, super old models they had found. They had sort of dug up in response to this video. So not only do they talk about the topic, but they also show you all these like fantastic, goofy old miniatures. And there were a couple that they didn't even know what they were. So if you can answer the mystery, maybe you can help them out. So check out their video for sure. It was totally awesome. But let's move on to this week's topic of the week. And for this week, we're talking about special characters. So, one of the things that sort of happened in the Age of Sigmar is we've really trimmed out the number of special characters. And special characters have long been a contentious issue in Warhammer. So I think back to when I started, and this was very relevant to me. I think when I started back in the 90s, I had, I think, the 4th edition Empire book, and Sigmar was a character in that book. Like, he was a special character you could take as your general. And it was like the Barbarian Sigmar, like the original one or whatever, sort of the Barbarian warlord before he walked over the mountains and disappeared or whatever. And he was very funny because he could do like a big giant strength 10 like slam attack and all this kind of stuff. And I picked him all the time. And it's funny, I chose him because he couldn't choose any other equipment. He just came like prepackaged. And I liked that because then I didn't need to look through all the other equipment and figure things out. And I've always been a person who was just like, yeah, sure, whatever, let's just play. So that was really my first encounter with special characters. They were there, they were in my game right from the beginning. Over time, especially through like 5th and 6th edition, special characters, very much were sort of a touchy subject because often, especially when it came to, in my memory, like the undead and chaos special characters were just ridiculous. Like there were characters that just could beat whole armies by themselves. And so it became very common practice to just kind of ban them from tournaments, right? Like you're not allowed to take special characters. And regardless of whether or not they could be played or whether they were good fun to be playing in like a casual game or whatever, or whether they were beardy, they still existed and they were a big part of the game. Like when you look at the war scrolls that were printed for the old armies, just look at like the Empire war scrolls. I mean, there's like 82 special characters. I'm exaggerating, but there's a lot. And of course, most of those people are now long dead, dust and floating in the chaos wastes or whatever. But I think that to me, when I looked at those special characters, and when I look at like how I view the game and especially the armies that I love, I really do see it through the lens of a lot of special characters. So, for example, with my Skaven, I was always a fan of Deathmaster, Snitch, and Icket Claw. Those were my two boys, right? Like, and they represented like the two rats that I empathized with, the sort of mad scientist and the just silent killer. I liked both of them. When I look at the Tomb Kings, it's Cetra and it's Kalita, and I from pretty much the first time when I bought the original 7th edition or whatever edition it was, whenever the first Tomb Kings book came out, and I picked it up, and Cetra's in there and Kalita's in there, and I looked at their pictures, and I didn't even really read their rules. I just looked at their pictures, read their story, and I was like, oh my god, these people are awesome. But in the Age of Sigmar, most of those special characters, it just doesn't happen. I mean, we get references to characters, of course, in the novels and, even some in the stories and stuff like that. But they're not really represented with game rules. And so I guess my question this week and the topic I want to discuss is a couple different things. So, one, do you like special characters? And there can be many different ways you can like them. From, you could say, like, well, I like the character, but I always hated the way they played on the table. That's okay. And I could understand that, because some of them have, especially in the history of previous editions, been admittedly a little broken. But I think that they're really important, sort of narratively. And I personally lament their loss. So that's what I really want to talk about. Are you sad about the number of sort of special characters we've gotten? I mean, there really hasn't been many. And certainly we don't, in the new War Scrolls that have come out, when you look at the new armies, there really isn't that many floating around. Sure, you've got like Nagash and stuff like that. And yeah, you can still play Manfred and those people. There is a few hangers on. But when you look at, like, say, the recast Seraphon, all of their heroes are dead and a lot of their other people became generic. Same with the Skaven in Chaos, right? Obviously, Ikit Claw is long since corpse. But, now we've just got the Arch Engineer. And I feel like that's a shame to some degree because it diminishes, I think, the connection with that army. Like when you read a story about Ikit Claw and the way he fries the other engineers for failing to pull like his mangled armor off of his burnt singed fur, and then he shoots one with warp lightning and brings in the next one. It's funny and you connect. He's got personality, but just Arch Engineer. No one connects with Arch Engineer, at least in my estimation. And I know certainly we can make up our own, but there's something to me that's special about reading that other character. I could write my own novels too, but I don't want to. I want to read about those other ones. And moreover, for me personally, I want to play them. I want to have their unique things. I want to form that connection sort of narratively to their art and their story and who they are. And then I want to see their rules make that be real. And it's that last step that we're missing. So I lament the loss of special characters so far in Age of Sigmar. You look at like the Fire Slayers. There's no special characters in the lot. Same with, to a degree, the Stormcast. I mean, you've got the Celestin Prime, who may or may not be a named guy, but and yes, there's a ton running around in the books, but there's no difference between Vandus Hammerhand, legendary Lord Celestant, and any other Lord Celestant on a Dracoth. I will say that I think one of the things that gives me hope is in sort of the recent War Scroll battalions they had where, with like, I think his name was Torglug, where when you took this particular formation, it then gave special abilities to that guy. It became your generic sort of Nurgle Chaos Lord became Torglug, and he gained these special abilities from the formation. I would love to see more of that. In fact, I want to see a lot more of that. To me, that's actually a great way to do special characters because you kind of get to serve both masters simultaneously. You have your generic rules, and you can kind of section off the special characterness. But I've really only seen that one. If there are others out there, please comment below, let me know. But to my understanding, he's the only one. I want to see a lot more of that. So, there you go. Topic of the week. What's your history with special characters in the game? Maybe who's your favorites out of the armies you collect or that you read about. And of course, did you play them? And are you sad to see them be diminished or maybe gone? Or, well, yeah, diminished is the right way. There's still some around. Are you sad to see them diminished in the Age of Sigmar? How important are they for you? All right, so there we go. Topic of the week, as always. Love to see your responses. Either comment below or make a video response, and they will be linked down below in this video. Thank you so much for watching, and as always, we'll see you next time.